Let's talk a little bit about the aid we give, because a lot of callers and listeners who read your column, we talked at length about it last week. You got to be able to connect the dots a little bit here. You've introduced something called the Stand With Israel Act. Can you talk about the Stand With Israel Act and talk about how we fund basically terrorism, how we help pay for people to kill 3 innocent teenagers?
Several $100 million goes from the U.S. taxpayer to the Palestinian Authority and has been for a couple of decades now. But in the last few months, they've announced that they are partnering with Hamas. Hamas is becoming part of the Palestinian Authority government, and in forming this unity government, conceivably your money will now go to Hamas. The problem is that Hamas's reaction to the killing of these teenagers was to jump up and down with glee, rub their hands, and say, you know what, blessed are the people who made these captures, and these are direct quotes from people who are political operatives within Hamas. So now your money may well be going to Hamas. So I have a bill that says explicitly that since Hamas is part of the Palestinian Authority, unless they renounce violence and accept Israel's right to exist, that no money should flow to that unified government.
Are you getting any resistance to this act?
Amazing resistance from both Republicans and Democrats. I stood up 2 weeks ago on the Senate floor and asked to pass this bill, and I was objected by the Democrat chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Yesterday I did the same and now mentioned that these Israeli kids had been killed and that Hamas was gleefully supporting the killing, and it was objected by the Republican senior member. And it's even worse than this. The attachment and filial relationship with American foreign aid to countries is so strong that I had a bill last week that would have stopped foreign aid to countries that persecute Americans. Pakistan has Asia Bibi who's in jail on death row for 5 years, and we still send money to Pakistan. The Sudan imprisoned a woman by the name of Miriam Ibrahim for marrying a Christian, and so she's on death row as well. So really, it's amazing. I introduced these bills to restrict foreign aid, and I only got one other Republican to support me. In fact, every Republican and every Democrat voted to continue foreign aid to all these countries without restrictions.
You have got to explain that to me, Senator. You've got to explain pushback that you're getting. I guess I understand it from Democrats. Explain the opposition to a bill that would prevent aid to terrorists and terrorist organizations from fellow Republicans. Explain that to me.
They say that we are influencing these countries for the better by sending them money. I argue completely the opposite point, that the countries continue to do these things despite your aid, so apparently your aid is encouraging them to continue with these policies. So I basically said that any country that imprisons people for life or has a death penalty for religious freedom, exercise of religious freedom, that they shouldn't get any money. So, for example, in many countries, apostasy or leaving Islam, interfaith marriage, marrying a Christian, and or blasphemy is punishable by death. I think countries who punish people for religious freedoms by death shouldn't get 1 penny of American money, and yet these people, Republican and Democrat, blithely say, no, we don't want restrictions on foreign aid.